When I first got into manifesting, it was like magical. It was like Harry Potter. I'd opened this door to this magical land. And when I first experimented with trying to set intentions and visualize things that I wanted, I was really surprised that they actually started happening. But the more I read books and learned about manifestation, I felt like, no, this is a normal way we're supposed to live our lives. This is just natural. We've just lost touch with this information. I even noticed things I didn't intend to in the beginning were coming towards me. Like I'd get free vacation accommodation at some place I could never afford to stay at, and it wasn't something I set an intention on. It was just a random conversation. Someone offered me a place to stay for free. And so it was interesting to me that it wasn't also about just putting, an intention out and trying to kind of visualize. It wasn't almost like a job we have to do, but it was just like a natural state of being. And I like that idea that it was like if you stay open-minded, but not even really open-minded. I guess open-minded in the sense of open to possibility, but open energetically as well. Like something about your aura or the energy you're putting off is somehow giving a signal to other people or to the universe, or however you like to think about it, that you're open to receiving gifts and blessings and things that you actually want deep down that you weren't even conscious you wanted. My experience was that things could come to you quite randomly without any forced routine, and at different points in time I did different things. So in this sort of early period, which in hindsight I call my beginner's luck period, and I think a lot of people find this when they first stumble across manifestation, I did lots of different things. Like I wrote down in my journal what I wanted. I had what I called a magic fridge that I would just put a few key words and maybe a little drawing of the thing I was trying to manifest. And so that would just be the thing that I would just walk past every day. I did do a vision board at one point, but to be honest, that was not really even at the beginning of my journey. Vision boards didn't really become popular until after The Secret, and I was already doing stuff before that. I didn't really find a vision board was revolutionary, that it did anything super magical that I wasn't already doing. And I think we get hung up on these sort of techniques as if the technique itself is doing the work, and it really isn't. There's no kind of one ritual that works. Just because someone else is doing something and that worked, it doesn't mean the ritual made it work. It's really us. And as I said, I think it's more about the open-mindedness, about being open to possibility, so not limiting ourselves before something happens. So for example, sometimes we have limiting beliefs about what's possible for us, like I'm not lucky, or opportunities don't come to me. We need to be open-minded in walking around the world, just thinking things are possible, good things are possible. But also I think probably even more so than that is that energy part that I was talking about. So I think at that point in time, I'd actually during this beginner's luck period, I'd actually been recovering from a couple of years of chronic fatigue syndrome. I basically spent a lot of time in bed reading books on manifestation and watching Oprah Super Soul Sunday. And I was building this openness in my energy field because I wasn't interacting with people saying otherwise. And I had to do a lot of healing on my emotions to recover from that physical condition that was making me bedridden. So I think when I came out of that and I started to feel more energetic, something fundamentally must have shifted in my energy field and as I said, that example of someone offering me free accommodation came right in that period where I was well enough to go back to work, and someone in my workplace offered me that very randomly. And it was almost like that dark night of the soul that I'd gone through, not knowing whether I would ever get better or if I'd ever live a full life. I'd been looking at this idea that doctors were saying maybe this, you're going to always be sick in some way, that somehow going through that dark experience actually opened my energy field to more possibilities. And yeah, it was quite cool then, because I was open-minded and somehow my energy field was more open. I was starting to attract things really, really effortless without having to do any techniques. So that was a really exciting time in my life. I was in my late 20s and everything felt possible. And I think because I'd gone through such a difficult experience, I wasn't afraid to experiment. I felt almost like there's nothing to lose here, because it almost felt like what I imagine, like having a near-death experience is like that you come back and you're just a completely blank brand new person that's much more open to life and a lot less, I think fear was affecting me a lot less. And so maybe that's what happened, why my energy field was more open, because I didn't have as much fear, because I was like, being bedridden is so much worse and all these other things I'm afraid of, like people disapproving of me and people getting upset with me, things that had caused me a lot of suffering. That sort of people pleaser thing was really dominant in me at that point. So I continued on this sort of lucky streak for a few years, and then something happened. And that's why I started to feel like manifestation wasn't working. I didn't give up on it though. I continued with this idea of trying to manifest, and I probably doubled down on things like vision boards and writing down intentions and all that kind of stuff. And ironically, that really didn't work because, I was going through another period. Like I got, my husband and I broke up, and that was quite sudden. And I was going through a real transitional period of my life. And so I thought I could just sort of snap my fingers and manifest cool things again, like manifest a new boyfriend. That was the one that really tripped me up. It took me a while to manifest a new partner, and because it wasn't happening straight away, my thoughts just totally tumbled and I really lost faith in this idea of manifesting. What was interesting, I was still manifesting interesting things. Like I had a lot of good things going on in my life at that time. I developed a lot of cool friendships and had a lot of great travel experiences and things like that. But because I hadn't manifested the thing that I was trying to manifest, the thing I was like really putting effort into, then it almost felt like I was failing, that I didn't know how to manifest anymore. But interestingly, in that period of life, I was attracting all sorts of cool things. I was just so fixated on the one thing that wasn't happening. So I don't think anything in hindsight was actually going wrong, but I did start to lose faith in manifesting. And so fast forward a few years, I still hadn't manifested a partner, but I was still manifesting cool things. Like I got invited from someone I hardly knew to go on a yacht trip in Greece, and that was just like amazing. Start a writing career, and I'd end up living with a professional writer first, and then I bumped into another professional writer that was like, come and stay with me. I think at the time I still thought manifestation didn't work just because I was still single. So it's interesting, isn't it, how you can fixate on one thing not working. But I guess the problem was that I was losing faith, and I ended up, and probably because of that, I ended up having, I sort of lost faith and then I got it back again in a kind of an interesting way, where I just started feeling very calm about this idea of not getting a partner. And then I actually, a partner who's now been my husband, and we've been together for 10 years now, came into my life when I was in a moment of like just really peace and surrender and acceptance, and this sort of cautious positivity where I was starting to see signs that I think someone, and I could feel like in my energy system that someone was coming in, but I didn't really want to put too much expectation on it because I've been disappointed so much. So it was interesting. So then I met him, and then I had some health problems, and then I completely gave up on manifestation around the time of COVID, because I was getting another relapse of chronic fatigue syndrome, and it just sucked. It was another dark night of the soul. It was not a fun time at all. And so at that point, I just decided manifestation doesn't work. I'm just going to give up on it. I'm going to go back to living life kind of more of a conventional mainstream way. The way I see some friends and family living the way I used to live way back when. You get things based on logic rather than unexpected random coincidences and synchronicities. So instead of the fun way of things happening to you, you have to actually go and search for things and work hard to grind and hustle. And so I tried doing that for a while, and that was a complete disaster. And what I realized then is there is no going back. I'm sorry if you found this video, have you discovered manifestation? I'm sorry to say there's actually no going back to living a conventional life and doing things a conventional way, because in my experience, and other people I know, that just doesn't work. It's almost like you've graduated from that kind of school and you can't go back to high school. Do you know what I mean? It's like you're in college now, and college is hard, and maybe you have to repeat a few years, but no one's letting you back in to high school. What I've come to now is that I do believe in manifestation, and the house I'm living in, I definitely feel like my partner and I manifested by talking about it on a walk one day. We're living in a beautiful place. that represents everything that's important to us. We're still in a really healthy, loving relationship. And yes, to be honest, there's things we haven't created yet and things that we thought we'd be further along in certain ways by now, and big goals I've had for a long time, for like years and years and years. In those moments, if I focus on that, it is easy to kind of lose faith and to say, no, like this stuff doesn't work, and to try and double down on like, maybe I need to do more manifestation rituals. Although I know I've been doing this long enough to know that's not really the answer. And so I think I've learned that, you know, this idea of divine timing is a really annoying one, but I think it is true. You know, like I couldn't have manifested my husband any quicker than I did. And I was manifesting other cool things. And yes, I have gone through several big life health challenges and dark nights of the soul along the journey. But I've always usually come out like lighter and brighter in some ways, and probably much more compassionate and for people going through a tough time. So there's always a hidden blessing in those experiences. And the things that my husband and I are still individually and collectively working on together, you know, like I can't give those things up. I can't go back and think that they're not possible, because I know things like this are possible. And, you know, if I focus on the things we have created so far, I feel really positive and really grateful. And so I think I've come to this place where I'm not in a beginner's luck phase where everything I want and it's just instantly coming to me, but I'm working on big, important, deep stuff. And from my experience, that stuff can take a little longer to come about. It's not about getting some small thing offered to you that feels like this amazing coincidence. It's like something meaningful that you've been maybe wanting or working on for a while. And so in those situations, I feel like I need to just, and you need to just, really focus on this trust in divine timing and this wiser sense of that manifestation is not just about getting what you want, getting what you want when you want it. It's about actually going on a life journey that's going to have ups and downs and things that you want and things that you don't want. And that doesn't mean manifestation doesn't work. It's just understanding it in more of a mature context